And this is a fact of the matter. We were really not sure after John flew whether or not there were critters, living critters out there somewhere.
I have the fireflies.
Time. The stuff of life is absolutely everywhere. Comets, the outer solar system, the cold, dark, near vacuum between the stars are all loaded with complex organic molecules, the very sort that you would want to have for the origin of life. We see forming planetary systems everywhere. We know that the evolutionary process is nothing unique to the Earth.
The vast majority of scientists and technologists continue to regard all this as complete nonsense. They may acknowledge that a strange phenomenon exists, but they think that it is not any more worthy of a high priority study now than it was 23 years ago, when the National Academy of Sciences and the University of Colorado released the Condon report, and I'm old enough to remember. So never has the situation been so clearly polarized. Never has it been harder to do good research. As a scientist, I've come to the conclusion that a genuine UFO phenomenon exists. It is physical, and it is unexplained. Skeptics do not want a serious inquiry on the subject because it would disturb their rational universe, and many advocates of ufology are equally opposed to a serious inquiry because it might show the UFO phenomenon as far more complex, stimulating, awesome, and ultimately important and mysterious than the specific limited version they are presenting today. As Dr. Hynek himself said in October 1976, quote, "I have come to support less and less the idea that UFOs are nuts and bolts spacecraft from other worlds. There are just too many things going against this theory. I think we must begin to re-examine the evidence. We must begin to look closer to home." Yet Allen died without being able to convince his colleagues in astronomy to take a closer look at the data. In recent correspondence, de Vaucouleurs, one of the great contemporary cosmologists and now a member of the US National Academy of Sciences, wrote to me that he was still unconvinced. He felt that UFO reports simply showed what peculiar things human consciousness could do. In so saying, he was only expressing the common scientific consensus on the topic. The truth is that the technological community in general is indifferent to the UFO question. In my observations, official science is not uniformly set against this kind of speculation. The real debate about the phenomenon doesn't have to do with whether or not the phenomenon exists. What scientists question is the ability of modern science to deal with it. In my conversations with my colleagues in technology, that's really what comes across. They agree that there is something out there that's very poorly explained or not explained. In many of those cases, in a surprising number of those cases, if they could come forward with their observations, you would find that these people have themselves observed a number of things. In private conversations with Professor Condon in 1967, I heard him express a similar view. He told me that his study of UFOs was a waste of time, not because the problem didn't exist, but because he thought it was outside the realm of science. I disagree with this view because, as a French astronomer once said, no problem is scientific or unscientific by nature, but only by the way in which it is approached. The challenge here is to construct a rational, testable way to approach the UFO phenomenon.
These unidentified flying objects that appear to display unique characteristics, such as their speed, their rapid maneuvering, and so on, must be studied in the interest of mankind.
That there is undoubtedly something, or a number of things, they may be quite different things too, in our atmosphere, which is physical, and were it to land, could be seen and touched and photographed.
You see on the picture from space are things we're used to seeing here in the control center down here in Houston. They're ordinary events that surround the spaceship. Pieces coming off, water dumps, pieces of ice, insulation. They're just little pieces, 10, maybe 20 feet away from the camera.
There's been no movement in these pictures
that would seem unusual.
Unusual or
unlike any aircraft that we use.
Not out of the realm of aircraft power. You're exactly right.
Even
there is, I think, no question that there is extraterrestrial life elsewhere in the universe. That they would come here. That they would come here with running lights. And that they would come here with running lights that I can't tell from the other lights that I have running around in the world. I find that highly improbable.
There were so many unknowns in the early days. And this is a fact of the matter. We were really not sure after John flew whether or not there were critters, living critters out there somewhere.
I have the fireflies.
He was in a mess with trying to determine what the hell the fireflies were that Glenn had seen. He wasn't in the right attitude in the spacecraft, and he had not gone through the checklist required to get ready for retrofiring.
I think I'm going to have to go to fly-by-wire and use the window in the scope.
And perfectly under control. What's wrong? I'm here. And that was Scott.
I understand the report came from Hawaii that it was a tired and confused astronaut. If my opinion is worth anything to you, this is not true. I will admit to being preoccupied.
It was uncanny luck that he survived. And he's goddamn lucky that it didn't come down bass backwards, because it could have. Somebody was looking out for him.
I didn't realize that people thought I was lucky to make it through. I really never felt that it had been that tight. But that's the sort of thing you have to face whenever you do new things that have never been done before. There are a lot of different masters to serve. I was listening to another drummer where my interest in science was concerned in.
How large is the hole in the window, if you could tell me? And also, is this something that happens regularly on space flights? And also, if they were up there longer, could this be something significant to have that in the window?
Let's see. To start out, it looks like the diameter of the crater is about a 1/16 of an inch. It's very difficult to judge the depth, but based on experience of previous experiences, we expect it to be about a 32nd of an inch deep. And like I say, the little radial things that you can see coming from it, it's not a crack in the window, it's probably just material that has been plated onto the glass, and that is 4 to 6 inches in diameter across that ejecta. Has it happened in the past? Yes, we have had other micrometeorite events. Does not happen very often. I know of at least one other on a flight that I worked where we had it was identified later as a fleck of paint that impacted a window, and then the post-flight analysis, there was enough material left in the crater that they could determine that it was paint. Of course, the length of time you stay on orbit increases the probability that you might have a micrometeorite strike, but it does not happen very often.
Stephanie, anything else?
Yes, I do actually. Can you explain also how small do you think this micrometeorite was? Is it a fleck? And how does it create such damage?
It is very, very tiny, probably along the lines of maybe 2 diameters of a grain of sand, maybe not even that big. And the way it causes damage is that it's going at extremely high velocities with respect to the orbiter, and the picture you see is typical of a hypervelocity impact of a small object on a flat surface.
And have you seen anyone, is this one of the bigger or the smaller micrometeor holes you've seen?
It is, just based on my experience of seeing other photos, it is the most significant.
Stock that comes right off.